This issue was raised yesterday on the programme by Mike Gard, and we were talking about Tony Quinn and about Scientology. And Mike Gard mentioned this new group called Anonymous, who have sprung up and are now protesting on a regular basis outside the Scientology offices in Dublin and elsewhere, but Dublin primarily. David, good afternoon.
Hello, Joe. How are you?
You're a member of Anonymous.
I would indeed be, yes.
And what is your connection with Scientology?
I have to admit that I wouldn't actually have any personal connection with Scientology apart from I just think it's an organisation that should be opposed. I mean, when you do your research and discover what the Scientologists do and how manipulative and deceptive they are, I mean, it motivated some of us to take action against them.
And how did you come together as a group?
Well, the propaganda video, and it got leaked onto the internet, and there was the Scientology organisation basically filed copyright suits to try and have it removed, and it was that act of censorship that got an awful lot of people who were very internet based looking into this. And whenever they started to look into the Scientology organisation, they discovered that there's a lot to be opposed here, and it really stemmed from there.
And your group Anonymous, you were created through the internet, were you not, in terms of connections and communications and message boards? And
yeah, there's some message boards that, what do you call it, whenever someone posts, there's no username, it just comes up as Anonymous, and that was sort of like the meme that sort of led to the Anonymous persona, if you know what I mean.
And when you protest in Dublin, what do you do? How do you remain anonymous?
Some people sort of like wear a mask to try and conceal their identities. At an awful lot of our protests, both Jared Ryan and a couple of other people in Scientology have been.
And how many of you turn up on these protests at this stage?
We're down to a group of about 15 to 25. Anyone is free to join, and it's a case of that it doesn't matter who you are. If you do your research in this and you think that Scientology is an organisation that should be opposed, you're free to come and join us.
But what do you do in day-to-day life?
Well, I used to be involved in bookkeeping. You know, most of us are from different backgrounds. Some of us are students, some of us are involved in IT, some of us are, you know, it's just different backgrounds that we've just all come together to take on this issue. But
I'm fascinated that your campaign on Scientology, against Scientology, obviously you could have campaigned on a number of issues, say the war now, you know, the issues that are out there at the minute, the war in Iraq or Gaza or fees or whatever. What prompted you, what prioritised Scientology for you?
I think it was because they were the first group of this type to have expressed censorship on the internet. I mean, that was the starting point for this action. I mean, an awful lot of people, you know, like to be able to express their ideas. They like the free exchange of ideas. And when Scientology can come in and have sites removed or videos removed because they're claiming they're violating copyright, I mean, for an awful lot of people, that's just a total no-no, and that's what really started this entire campaign off. And when people
Una is there as well. 51551 text. Una, you're a member of Anonymous as well.
Hi, how's it going? I am indeed.
And why did you join the anti-Scientology group?
Well, I was always aware that Scientologists were odd and that it was a money-making scam. But until I heard about the campaign on the internet by watching the Anonymous information war, the declaration of war, I looked in, I didn't realise how dangerous they were. And so as a parent myself, I learnt about their applied Scholistics program. It's another corporation hiding the cult of Scientology, hide behind it, and they've been sending out DVDs to local schools, trying to get a foot in the door to local schools, not mentioning that they were the Church of Scientology. So I got involved then, and then when I heard about the child abuse that went on at the Mace Kingsley Ranch and aboard the Apollo, as a parent myself, I couldn't stand by and let these guys get into our schools.
And do you go to these protests?
I do indeed, every month, and then when we hear of any events that the church in quote marks are hosting, we stand outside and we inform the public who are going in exactly what they're getting into. Because your point is sometimes
the Scientologists host events about self-help, or
they host Clear Ireland expansion events, yeah.
Can I come in there, Joe?
Yes, David.
One of the events they held down in Cork was what I call it was last June, and it was sort of like they were advertising it as a mental health awareness weekend. And really what that was actually being orchestrated by one of the front groups called the CCHR, which is essentially an anti-psychiatry group, and it was sort of like displaying their Industry of Death campaign, and an awful lot of people who actually we encountered outside that weren't aware of the connections and weren't aware of what the purpose of it was.
And apparently, I remember we got a call about it before it happened, and it was in Cork City Hall, is that not correct? And
it was indeed, yes.
And the City Council didn't know it was Scientologists either.
It's my understanding that the Mayor of Cork was scheduled up to actually open the event, but he thought better of it whenever all this information came to light.
Una, do you know anyone who's in the Scientologists?
No, a couple of my friends almost got roped in using the so-called free personality test or the stress test, and they, luckily enough now, they managed to kind of not have enough money to go through with the Scientology levels, and they got out that way. But pressure was put on them to come up with the money either by trading in their rent money or by doing courses or whatever. So while I wouldn't personally have been involved, I would be friends with people as well. The Phelan family I would know really well. A member of their family disconnected from them using the Scientology disconnection policy, where your family and friends are completely blanked if they try and discourage you on your path to Scientology. So John Duignan as well, who's written the book The Complex, I'd be in contact with him as well. He's a good friend, and the Phelan, so I would have kind of second-hand experience with him.
Okay, thanks indeed. When is your next protest, David?
It's on the January the 17th. We'll be outside, and anyone who has any questions can come up. We're in 62 Middle Abbey Street, and we'll be there. Anyone wants to ask questions or some information, we'll be able to provide it for them.
And you're outside the Scientologist office?
We are indeed, yes.
And what time is that at?
We start at 11 a.m. and usually continue to about 5 p.m.
Okay, that's what you've decided. Okay, thanks.